So that we were right now is the positive of this item might be fair and like to say that the outcome behind that Cadillac to throw that the Cadillac as well as that set of behind that set of like they are walk up confident professional state and a character and one of my inner work here is that only one person that I'm considering right now. That the person that I'm considering right now is for like maybe the culprit to throw that's a cat that they know with the that's what about to do that. And so that if they do what might have happened, might have been to go up into might have the mark might have blackmail as engaged currently left the person employment that way through blackmailing and fancy it maybe it might have been out that walker might have became that the way and basically eventually a different like the guilt might have caused like answer skill or the players might have really wanted to like front of the truth to let the people of Jericho as well as and let about like that the person information particular that investigation will be at that point like a different like he might have sort of towards like Walker and said Walker that these that kind of concepts that he wants to like concept everything. Like at that point that Walker might out of the somewhat of it and might out of the like him and order that they only helps in that create like the public scale for that and the public concept yeah, like I'm for that walk up might out at that point next is my feel like that we take out like from as well as that that's why due to that maybe walk on has that with fear of like basically once that such a like that's a confession and to give me then that due to that walk hiding that information about like the person that walker would be making us that map with the critical insurance related such if we have like maybe it might have been water that might have taken off that has to get that that's right by sheer points of so that very nice like trying like non case might have been having a sleep or at conference like and maybe so really to that I don't like at this point like not shape somebody and that way that like the loss of like as they said like why like it might have been that the relatives of like or the law case that might have that taken up but like even at that point, that what might have had that absolute fear of the possibility of that including coming out of that law basically since that law that a lot of like cases since that before the actual organizing case like before like take out of that case like is the actual case don't really wanted to make that absolute something so like the possibility of that law gets knowing about that social information and basically that in fact was sort of take out of that as a case and it's why you know, like the wasn't get that you know kind of that because it goes that walk up. Knowing all that talk about like the person and that walk up hiding that right. So like law is that way protecting walk up and this that way the thing coming out through my law might be around the range of that that's the example like law being sent abroad like job right and essentially like that way like law from walk up. So there is a plan about that and this might even travel abroad and might have I don't have to like take off law made up in what made up happens that we know from the they have to bring like create of law in that terms of bring that law that body might have not been found is that we perfect we want to rate it. So that we law might have managed to like put some right and about this like and to bring that what might have been aware you know so probably there might have been that like law as well was born made have been working at the survival premise, but like no made out we managed to let survive and at that point like no might have stayed away for the strong feeling that was leak whoever attempted to like take out no might have been definitely that the conflict they might have said now her parents might be along the lines that no might have that can seriously well until that point no who might have had any subsequent but it might have been like that with different so like that way, like and all might have been that aspect that might have been trying to like figure out like as to that who might be that the culprit kind of like the lot of that yeah might have been the reason if that no might have found out that from the medical evidence like the culprit being in that box might have been like it is especially when there was so like it might have so like that way it might have like it's the only reason that like might have came to that Jericho and that way, then the reason why then like now we might have found out about that Dr. Reggie and some of Reggie's like manipulation of like colonizing in the book and everything. So that way, law might have first taken out Reggie at like operate, and that way it might have been low gains that might take on operate first, and then might like targeted like the main target like blocker might have been one of them, especially my preference. So like blocker like they about to need gadgets might have had like to be no longer with when it comes to like the accident of like what may be like that experience with the company. So that way according to my experience with sector of the development for like maybe say games still being alive and maybe being that the company design like the also walk up as like getting the data with might have been more made up and like lot of politics that I'm going to so like right now at present like we the serious individual that like let's get on like confirm you know because like chasing up and talking about navy might be law case it's like the other of the that are visible the so like right now probably trying that state to not be able to like get like change them to and just like that would be just individual yeah like I'm different that while running like something that the flow connected to that identity of that material mostly this individual like I'm different that while doing that says like some case or is like the in the scenario that I'm looking at once they're finding that flows from the around the step the scenario that I'm visible with and my and that flow usually when stay into that solving that exact history subject to that the laws of that regime as well as that water which are totally particularly ending up becoming elected also just by finding out as being like law gates since that the scenario that was the point of the and if that's the case, then the fundamental principle will be looking for to be made by thinking that this sheer principle of that workers that doesn't involving work of capital exactly when it said because that for the mind of the remission of the primate something in the mention that the house is that and the gates might be close to land that's where they were that first of might have been taken by he was at Jericho might have been like that is the flavor might have been a scenario where like walkers like puppets at gets home maybe being more like they go to that walker wanted to like us create like false evidence at the house of like at the gates feel like to frame like Wednesday and like the other assembly as being culprit behind that the lot of that of Reggie as well as like and also like the family of that cat against that way to bring out the other family so that should be like Wednesday and no picture had recently blackmail welcome like they welcome might have like that fear of like the bottom tip the purpose of like Wednesday and like they were not really ending up in what was the code getting out about like what hiding like the point when I that way the voice of information like block of hiring and we see that they walk up like using his lab president like that here might have other in that walker taking the decision could have turned down like the average salary and that way to that opening print that was there like that so we might have been like with such an intent taking the report but like and which might have been when the lab walker might have been about to meet Kelvin when like walker got into that activity that might have been the sphere of concern that gates at that point is at the child students right that might have been to give the other property that are for of brain. Okay, so the reaction right now that system might have been connected in about just it might have been and the event stays that fencing skills might be that will be the result of unconfessed connected because training perspective might be that's it might be that could be the thing of training. So that also might have represented that it might have been out of that a genuine concern that another customer might have sold right now to Jericho certainly not it was Wednesday certainly might have represented because certainly once after the parents we can after well have something back home between it might have been that so uncle might have then found out about government is happening to the next parents we can counted to get it that crime from all the way of such and stuff so on the first of mind of favorite that worried for Wednesday because at that point because because so many felt that is that start that still hiding and they are trying to still bring down Thomas so definitely seems Wednesday is also an added even though Wednesday and Motisha were able to like save Gomez, still just like Wednesday is like an Adam that believe that the culprit might next who's hiding like the shadow might next target Wednesday might be along the lines of that concern as you have that UncleFester might out have at that point. So that he might have at that point to that to that short to that to capture John basically help Wednesday out with that finding that the culprit might be along the line with such connected that UncleFester might have right now so towards Wednesday might be that so the situation that they might be very with them. But like I'm talking that Wednesday might totally come towards that on the first that after teacher might be affected to basic freedom. But like I'm different that still first at present right now. Definitely it might be something that for main person of form like my state in that sort by herself might be of such state priority for like that state. This like current mystery behind the law of like Dr. Longer language. That to find out the culprit might be of like by herself might be simulate the top priority for like the survivors living premise. So that they are bring that doing that interaction between that Wednesday and until the like and that interaction eventually ending up with that Wednesday telling other person bad that he can do it that she might have done win that's fine. Like the doctors would be along the lines of like the show like with that with confidence like that's really with the and at that point, I'm whispering like under the school, like after battle right like bring the fleet under the school, like definitely noting that absolute change and grow in that Wednesday. And like maybe like finding Wednesday a lot more mature in that attitude and everything. You when compared to before. Doing maybe of the line that can be a little bit of a feeling and like at that point, like something about what I'm first of like really feeling confident that Wednesday will that be able to like solve it themselves yet like the bond purpose like so that the customer might have showed up with the plans to like stay somewhere at like Jericho and like to help them stay out to get solid and finding that the purpose but like instead like a different like upper banking it's like a same person like instead like right out without the create that leave uh leaving Jericho's like now that but like before leaving that and was like was like living that space some sort of like to like help the stable like versus like the period and the during that period when the body the person that changes scenario that I was not going to think of so that the reaction right now is that the primary form of metal actually cataloged about that high on like not the simple theory but like one point the theory might do and that could be the bigger trend all those creative diaries are in the might have been either present in that single library and why left that specific one diary which like the most and most important information and see what connecting to like I might have been like that single diary that might have been presented in that page within that specific library we could take to the next single library which like until first of all might be like the close to like one possibility that all of the possibility that and the current were like at least taking the one there to be multiple diaries of that form of this land. We might have carried out the word land height and that the remaining diaries might have been all stored with like different locations. Uh, while that the diary containing the most specific and the biggest secret of that height might have been like hidden in that secret safe in like the secret library in that level what might be like that is like the consider so that we regardless of something for like Wednesday and until Facebook like especially and for then like you know finding anything that within that safe like I'm then finding that safe in the that is that in the scenario that I was doing but we are looking with like we are like basically with black thought in that basically steadily like the middle of the night like entering that secret library might have it only according to like the or like to destroy that state basic diary and also black or the remaining diaries of that from the or English black or the that mention of black height and height secret black might have been along the lines that we might have the order to that content and that might have been what might have happened and that might have been lab content as well as black kingdom that might have during that the ravens might have been during that the ravens that like might have been content as well as that keyboard that might have shown up to like the cave of like the monster and it might have been keyboard that might have yeah that might have been like some season teaser that set fire was in front of that cave or get the monster white like the grasshopper that Eugene had instead of grasshopper that like Eugene hands had set to that point might have been late for his something to grasp for to take what's for like important that uh, destroys that virus containing that the information about that site might be like that taking investigation of what might have happened and naturally the details are still about what might have happened in the life the living so definitely I'm in that way so due to the reason I got to my brain which I'm different as person lack of state and person lack finding that stay empty and sort of selecting within that data library selecting in our current the framework training. And definitely that's one of the my preferred mention that the different might have been or doing that but leaving that absolute fear of like the possibility of that Wednesday finding that Wednesday while continuing some investigation usually integrating into like the data library and finding that safe and these finding that result direct which might definitely contain like the information of like the height and that way like for like once they the positive like once they're being able to like find like the identity of like the height modes of that like going around like around basically like the dog close to like never more uh which is then like the culprit might be definitely one of the height might be definitely the culprit might be definitely one of the means of like keyboard of like the both of it might be able to like transform into like that height and might be that way users that might be communicate the crimes in like the bots close to like now might be like the activity of that which is definitely but while every time it might be thought that might be used unique power like that might be might be assigned to like an after actually didn't watch right now this like trends take place so that as like so the task of like hiding the evidence like to find the thing which might be like that it might be the emotion right now. It was saying that the later students right now is that both saver as well as Kimball might be actually heights and both might be being able to like something into like the potential height monsters while in the case of dreams we using green like tipping off might be able to that when this front of the height might be let's say height the frame so definitely I'm still taking the correction that it might have been only the case of that ongoing incident in that that figure might have been like the alcohol or the remaining height on the incident like it might have been on either we or like symbol that might have been like the culture that once they into the person might be wrongfully suspected see that solely due to that might have been at least measure points of their own like saver being at that exact location during that exact similar time that might have been just sheer choices alone and one my friends and colleagues doing my friends that like on my schedule arrange so where and taking an person kind of takes the need my calculator. Not like made by wins and keyboard that by the that doing that they might have like about in like a path and it might be like that because the real point in like an situation might be like that to the and so that's the when the by the like when they will be learning of this as well. So I thought of me and the name bring that to free awareness for at that point like say that at first that sentiment out by the like things not other. It is so that's the name of the brand right now that like symbol in activity might be like the round of national that Manitoba might be like that just reading the level there might be that connection between left symbol and for the Manitoba, especially the symbol like symbol. I think that can be able to have that personal connection of like some animals it might be definitely that way connected to like the same kind of like behavior or like mindset of that. For example, Manitoba, let's see that the equivalent is like on the kind of the brand also on the different maybe on like a lot reflect the property of the inbound as well as downhill as well as being consumed as well. Things like also like now of after that and get to know the thing and my personal area. So like that they can don't make definitely a high like inbound may not be like the high powers of like Olga Malakova skill might be that the actor going to the system with my vegetarian. Yes, so like the only I'm still gonna like friends so that like the object diaries might have been what might have been destroyed near like the cave or like the most was actually by Simbo. Might have been one made a pattern like the basket that even just like might have been one like your Eugene might have been about like Eugene might have been one made a pattern something like at present like the direct and like the same indexing library might be only a frame direct way to get that 26 situation. especially when that thing that we might have been kept there according to the plans of that maybe means the village indoor as well as like so it totally thoroughly pursued Wednesday might be that the activity to affect the individual that might experience or something. Okay, so the main preemption right now is that it might be that the master of two height, one big figure, and that the other big keyboard might be the quantum which is the of the so that first height that which might have released might have been keyboard the play might be the so the name is for that means while planning and plotting by this side and planning and plotting to like bring down the plan and way back is the name of the so that that means that plan translating might have like the and maybe the background that something like a one that we might have get down to the conclusion of that basically eventually might have figured that basically that keyboard is like a height definitely my friend so while going through like the catalog of that song or like a book for at that point we might have found out that about that keyboard that basically showing like traits of that height might be like the case that they have created. In that way, that might have been most likely put that happened in the speaking temple that went down the Arab family that as like the corporation for such individual conversion numbers for it might have been things that might have been released like the high in like import might be like that so they can release the flavor from it. So like eventually once like Sega might have got like or more like an for like the upper layer of that like a since then like it might have been released that might have been controlling and that import might have been at the age of limit. It might have been also observing that is an open to at like never more and like we might have more like more heights to like control like you like the base the never like that we things might have noticed that Sega might have understand put out in that thing as that possibility that another height might be around the next like things might have that in Sega. But like things might have felt like Sega has like having like similar traits that like so similar traits that like the Kindle show might be around the line of like things might have felt so like that way like things has the might have only than a instance that things might have only called Sega and like might have using technology or something might have only let's say the side of Sega as well might have been one might have you know so like yet like it might be that might be controlled for inboard as well as that Sega the height thing like inboard as well as like Sega as well as so like just in pipe form, but like also like human form as well, like different names might be like select control, like because as well as like say that might be like the actual one, but the video communication that live up with. So like let's say the keyboard as well as let's say that might be in a second, might be like to know the white when games might have also might be using like keyboard to lack of the to commit on the crimes and they lead to conflict create like for the evidence again to eventually trap that state and bring down like that example while we might be also at the same time might be controlling savior as well and bringing exactly like the results of that causing that kind of situation and find the patient there. It might be according to like we in order that like savior might be society showing up in those exact locations so that like to prevent it might be all currently plan to like prevent straight away assuming and suspecting savior and not realizing that the true danger of like important might be along the lines of the brain maybe according to like prescribing that as well as like savior who might be an innocent might be doing everything that they have to like that they have done so far and it's definitely one of the reasons since like this might be like the master like definitely according to the direction the different identity like savior might be able to like betray things and reveal like the truth about like savior and the following the four or something like that. So that's why might be like tangible features manufacturing. Then it might be so really so like we so like we being like the master of like savior the the height saver might be the vehicle for like things in like the past like this from like the window like staring at like and watching like as that saver was like teaching answering I think like basically the black rope and arrow to like let's say that they mean at that point that well like saver was like either teaching or like showing respect like for and at that point like we staring at like the door that from like the window watching the development on like Tomato might be ability to let's say the most technically that being specified might be like the emphatic of the support technique might in during the exercise. So that definitely my theory and just right now is that so in the case of like incident like might have been most likely a scenario where like things that company given the order to that favor to that person into like the right form and basically take out Lord. And that way that all might have ordered taken out might be what might have happened is definitely by favor might have been what might have happened definitely might have been so like favor might be naturally might have been only innocent yet like favor and yet at the same time favor might be looking into the truth that like it's like going to that way or that like favor increase like to get like to say that master and that the power of that master uh and towards like a higher like and the that limitation like favor might definitely even though favor might want to value the reason is about needs to like I say like favor definitely might be I think he explain it to studying the choice to level that might be that that could just figure the become credit. So like the from the moment incident itself like incident might have done that but then the incident in that might have been the way for like to start that as a some species uh, that means step towards that figure might be like that the situation the plane of prevention. Also that means they having I mean like figure and this like obsession towards like statement that has been might be totally savior naturally listening to that needs order and needs following respect around and trying to hear out like savior has this like extreme obsession and like it towards like when in actuality that might not be the case. It might need a savior loyally following all the orders and the height say that like loyally following the orders of the team maybe that like to what maybe not then we might be very comparative level. So according to my realization right now, so the thing that the earlier ran on like say the next might have been the inactivity might have been that height say that listening to like the orders of like me might be that the activity like activity which is definitely might be within and that way to say to that create graphical form confusion and so vision complex steps right towards let's say that might be that might have been like this plan might have been the lead light of the emotion right here so that the lead light of the emotion right now is the play for lab things like the well state as well as in children might be only betting on each other to that way we have to bet now might like it for like this will be officially printing things like and then with the second so like but stay to be only for the anything that like so and basically to get the like the anything else like home the thing with like your and instead to be like let's say in similar room because we are the same would be expecting that state to basically at that very last second to that thing appear and basically to prevent that permanent room shifting of that particular for the successfully and like to the scenario that I'm so like both of them betting on each other to like show up at the last second and make that change. But like that way like neither of them doing that to like each of them betting on each other like to the scenario that everything. That way like if you putting that anything that actually getting up doing I feel like to like you're also going from like the perfectly like the scenario that everything and that's it would be more than that point like to go off the school year and that when Instagram maybe in like local phone, you could be doing that kind of period that and what are defining that like Instagram will be with the working out exactly in the scenario set and then that point Instagram that they not be the control. Not like where my information that link is bring at that point even though they people like the change that they can say coming in to help anything and being there as that as no point so like anything and helping anything that like being able to like control something like birth of communities like doing scenario and like and also supplement actually for like literally point that for such a manner like anything that would be home to that for some of that at that point like Wednesday to be assuming that is leave Wednesday for like the remaining of the school year will be not in but like it was that time there is like a mystery like weakness like getting one of like the students to every to like every spy on Wednesday and inform about like every movements of Black Wednesday and every physical and every action of Black Wednesday simply between that basically that way we try to make agreement with like one of the students and we ensure to like have that certain student who that will make previously so made for like instant love and like Wednesday so it's like into another direction. So like at that point like just you don't get saying that like don't worry many of it you are like Wednesday will be more about but like uploading instead like Wednesday and then don't get the man of like having and make us like Wednesday won't be able to like stand up or like the scenario that I'm the Korean and I'm the by the end of like the current school year, like and slowly running both Wednesday as well as like and that would be the spread to like basically have in similar back in like the state room and similar the spread to like get back to like the state room. It's really for them to like hang out and they are at their home together. Like would be like like the scenario that I'm so like the I'm showing by the time that this kind of school year will be ending like I'm going like Wednesday that will it will like project will already grow even stronger without spending so yet still that project is growing even stronger and basically that should happening by like similar to like Wednesday board at the end of like the heaven school reflecting the scenario that I'm about to bring on the friends. Okay, so that according to my experience, so like commentary related, so like leads to that once again, Wednesday. That's the scenario that I'm those like I took the thing that makes that person that say that so that comes to like so might have been definitely means definitely not friend when that means we left month of the but like everyone that they have take our like that save along the way even attending these important things about like Wednesday. Most likely, or Wednesday has seen that serious like from one of it. And this so Wednesday will most likely following say like in their own line, like say on a week that heads up to that way, that way that everyone so that we are looking that once that Wednesday and the rest of will be following Savior that will be that minded Savior meeting up with like Priyanka and talking to that Priyanka that whole scenario that so like at that point like I'm point that Bianca might that might not be like the actual Bianca and that might be most likely be in like the shape in the size of that Bianca might be like that with the situation that we were saying etc. So that at that point I'm searching for like instead of that the point that I would be they will be on the something of them at that point to be on their way let's say we are going back to like now but like end of the way like I'm doing like that without creating at all that so they're turning it to that Bianca as well as like the mayor focused on like basically that writing with each other was like the scenario that I would correct. So like at that point I'm slowly following that Wednesday and that black news but then switch off you realizing at that point that basically for that we had that left space so there that like say the stuff might have been the beings in like the shape of the is like the from the end will be around the night like the conclusion that Wednesday will be coming down to at that point and maybe I'm going Wednesday as well as so like quickly trying to like head back towards like where they had seen like Saber and Bianca, but they're like by the time they were originating it, they're like nine of Saber and of Bianca no person there like it's an hour that but it was a brain and brain. Yes, so like the name of friends right now that like when said like current man might be some need to like style up to like get to Jericho in the name of like the rate that gives me to instantly put the train into that indoor office and they need there to platform and stage to do that as well from over from and to that's an important to like find some sort of that evidence that like in both office which might current like which might current like the cognitive Wednesday of that they live involved being like the one that that will be controlling saver when in actuality, my representation that I'm sitting on basically for like both input as well as like Saber might be heights and like it might be doing of that might be single handedly controlling both input as well as labs. Saber might be like that representation that is my very beginning.